New York Governor Andrew Cuomo has enjoyed more than his fair share of fawning media coverage. But when it comes to politicians, things aren't always what they appear. Let's take a deep dive into the shady side of Andrew Cuomo. On December 13, 2020, former Cuomo administration aide Lindsey Boylan accused Andrew Cuomo of workplace sexual harassment. She wrote on Twitter, "Yes, Governor Cuomo sexually harassed me for years. Many saw it and watched. I could never anticipate what to expect. Would I be grilled on my work, which was very good, or harassed about my looks? Or would it be both in the same conversation? This was the way for years." In the same Twitter thread, Boylan alleged that she wasn't the only woman in Cuomo's office to suffer harassment. In another thread, Boylan called working for Cuomo beyond toxic and endlessly dispiriting if you weren't part of his inner circle. Cuomo denied the allegations 2 days later at a press conference, telling reporters, "I fought for and I believe a woman has the right to come forward and express her opinion, and express issues and concerns that she has, but it's just not true." According to the New York Times, Cuomo had a testy exchange in 2017 with reporter Karen DeWitt, who asked him about the sexual harassment allegations against his former senior aide Sam Hoyt and how he could stop this from happening in state government. He said, "You do a disservice to women with all due respect, even though you're a woman. It's not government, it's society." Charlotte Bennett, a former executive assistant and health policy advisor in the Cuomo administration, who resigned in November 2020, became the second woman to come forward with allegations of sexual harassment against Andrew Cuomo on February 27, 2021. According to Bennett, the alleged incident took place while the two were alone together in the state capitol office during the summer of 2020. The then 25-year-old advisor claimed that Cuomo had asked what she thought of age differences in relationships and when she last hugged someone during the pandemic. When Bennett replied that the last people she'd hugged were her parents, Cuomo allegedly pressed the issue, suggestively asking when the last time she had, quote, really hugged somebody. Bennett told the New York Times, "I understood that the governor wanted to sleep with me and felt horribly uncomfortable and scared, and was wondering how I was going to get out of it and assumed it was the end of my job." Cuomo initially denied the allegations, but the next day, he issued a statement claiming he was just joking. He said, "At work sometimes I think I am being playful and make jokes that I think are funny. I mean no offense and only attempt to add some levity and banter to what is a very serious business."
Governor Cuomo said in a statement on Sunday that he was just being playful. Was it playful?
No,
He says he was joking.
I wasn't laughing.
After Andrew Cuomo was hit with the second sexual harassment allegation, high-ranking Democrats such as Senators Chuck Schumer and Kirsten Gillibrand and Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez called for an independent investigation into the claims. Meanwhile, President Joe Biden's press secretary, Jen Psaki, called the allegations serious. Less than a week later, a third woman came forward with sexual harassment allegations of her own. Then 33-year-old Anna Rook claimed that she hadn't met the embattled governor prior to the fall of 2019. Cuomo reportedly said that she appeared aggressive after she removed his hand from her lower back at a wedding reception they both attended, before putting his hands on Rook's face and asking to kiss her, per the New York Times, which shared a photo of the incident. Rook said, "I was so confused and shocked and embarrassed. I turned my head away and didn't have words in that moment." Cuomo issued a statement claiming that his behavior, quote, had been misinterpreted as an unwanted flirtation. He also added, "To the extent anyone felt that way, I am truly sorry about that." After this allegation, New York Attorney General Letitia James announced an independent and thorough investigation in the sexual misconduct claims against the embattled governor. Little did Cuomo know, the floodgates were about to swing wide open. On March 6, 2021, Anna Liss, a former policy and operations aide to Andrew Cuomo, told the Wall Street Journal that the governor engaged in multiple unsolicited acts of verbal and physical sexual misconduct and viewed her as being, quote, just a skirt. The outlet reported that Liss, who worked for Cuomo from 2013 to 2015, said she first felt it was just harmless flirtation, but then realized it was not. She described his behavior as being inappropriate in any setting. Liss, who said she felt the need to come forward after the first three women told their stories, stated that Cuomo routinely talked about her appearance and recalled an incident at the executive mansion in which he hugged her, kissed her twice, and grabbed her waist in the process of posing for a picture. She also admitted that her experience in government made her seek out mental health counseling and caused her to self-medicate with alcohol. Rich Azzopardi, a senior advisor to Cuomo, responded to Liss's allegations, saying, "Reporters and photographers have covered the governor for 14 years. Watching him kiss men and women and posing for pictures. At the public open house mansion reception, there are hundreds of people, and he poses for hundreds of pictures. That's what people in politics do." On March 11, 2021, more than half of New York state legislators signed a letter calling for the resignation of Andrew Cuomo, citing his handling of COVID-19 related nursing home deaths and numerous sexual misconduct allegations. The letter states that Cuomo has, quote, lost the confidence of the public and the state legislature, rendering him ineffective in this time of most urgent need. It called for Lieutenant Governor Kathy Hochul to step in to finish the remainder of Cuomo's term, ending with the conclusion, it is time for Governor Cuomo to resign. New York Assembly Speaker Carl Heastie responded to the letter by authorizing an impeachment investigation and stated that Cuomo should seriously consider if he's able to lead the state while facing an avalanche of accusations and investigations. However, Cuomo stated that he has no plans of stepping down, telling reporters, I was elected by the people of the state, not by politicians. I'm not going to resign because of allegations. The premise of resigning because of allegations is actually anti-democratic.
I'm not going to resign. I never harassed anyone. I never abused anyone. I never assaulted anyone. And I never would.
On March 9, 2021, a sixth woman came forward to allege that Andrew Cuomo groped her while she was visiting his executive mansion. The woman, who was a Cuomo aide at the time, stated that she was invited to Cuomo's residence to fix a technical issue with his mobile phone. However, when she arrived, things allegedly took a turn. The Albany Times-Union reported that the two were, quote, alone in Cuomo's private residence on the second floor of the mansion, when he closed the door and allegedly reached under her blouse and began to fondle her. In a statement, Cuomo denied the allegations. He said, I have never done anything like this. The details of this report are gut-wrenching. I am not going to speak to the specifics of this or any other allegation, given the ongoing review, but I am confident in the result of the Attorney General's report. But 2 days later, the New York Times reported that the Albany police stated that they received a complaint about the incident between Cuomo and the aide that may meet the level of criminal behavior. The governor's acting counsel, Beth Garvey, said she was the one who called to report the incident per state policy. She said, the person is represented by counsel, and when counsel confirmed the client did not want to make a report, the state notified the police department and gave them the attorney's information. According to a report in the Wall Street Journal, Andrew Cuomo's current aides allegedly contacted former aides to discredit his first accuser, Lindsey Boylan. The calls were reportedly ordered by Cuomo's top aide, Melissa DeRosa, as a party claims that DeRosa didn't organize any effort to mass call former aides. He said, there was no directed effort. This outreach happened organically when everyone's phone started to blow up. He added that the calls were more of a heads up to former aides who might be questioned by lawyers or the media. On March 6, 2021, Karen Hinton, a former press aide for Andrew Cuomo, claimed that he pulled her a little too close in his hotel room after a work event in 2000. Speaking with the Washington Post, Hinton said Cuomo allegedly invited her to his hotel room, under the guise of talking out their differences, after she had resigned her position at the Cuomo-led U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Hinton then stated that Cuomo specifically asked her to avoid a security guard, and when she arrived, the room was dimly lit. Cuomo allegedly embraced her as she stood up to leave, and she pulled away.
It was not just a hug, it was an intimate embrace.
She added, he pulls me back for another intimate embrace. I thought at that moment it could lead to a kiss. It could lead to other things, so I just pull away again, and I leave. Cuomo's director of communications denied the account and called Hinton a, quote, known antagonist of Cuomo's, looking to score cheap points with made-up allegations from 21 years ago. Hinton replied, saying, attacking the accuser is the classic playbook of powerful men trying to protect themselves. When the novel coronavirus was first raging through New York in the spring of 2020, Andrew Cuomo was harshly criticized over requiring nursing homes to accept patients even if they were COVID-19 positive. The policy created massive outbreaks and deaths to the most vulnerable of the state's population. As the AP reported, an estimated 4,500 infected patients were sent to nursing homes across the state. According to ProPublica, the virus ended up killing more than 6,000 people in nursing homes throughout New York in the weeks after the order went into effect. Causing further outrage, Cuomo signed a bill that gave immunity to nursing home executives over the deaths of their residents after the Greater New York Hospital Association infused Cuomo's campaign with over $2.3 million in donations. Democratic Assemblyman Ron Kim told the outlet that the bill was drafted, submitted, and negotiated into law by Governor Andrew Cuomo and his staff for the specific purpose of protecting nursing home CEOs from lawsuits. On January 28, 2021, New York State Attorney General Letitia James released a 76-page report that concluded that the Andrew Cuomo administration had severely underreported nursing home deaths and that his policies caused thousands of nursing home residents to die of COVID-19. The report called for his administration to publicly update their data to add thousands of deaths that had gone unreported and uncounted. State Representative Elise Stefanik said, "This is now more than a nursing home scandal. This is a massive corruption and cover-up scandal." A little over 2 weeks later, Melissa DeRosa, one of Cuomo's top aides, revealed during a private virtual meeting with state lawmakers that Cuomo had intentionally delayed releasing nursing home data out of fear that it would trigger a Department of Justice investigation or that then-President Donald Trump would use it against them. Meanwhile, Democratic Assemblyman Ron Kim claimed to CNN that Cuomo threatened his career if he didn't cover up for DeRosa. Kim alleged, "He tried to pressure me to issue a statement, and it was a very traumatizing experience." On February 17, 2021, the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office announced that they had launched an investigation into the thousands of nursing home deaths and the cover-up that followed. Several former Andrew Cuomo aides spoke to the Washington Post and described the hostile, toxic work environment that Cuomo allegedly cultivated for decades. A former staffer at the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, who worked there when Cuomo ran the agency, said, quote, "You didn't know which Andrew you were going to get." She recalled an incident in which Cuomo raised his voice so sharply that her coworkers felt compelled to comfort her afterwards. She recalled, "I remember thinking it was pretty vicious and over the top, like if I had killed somebody. Not even my own parents had ever yelled at me the way he yelled at me." Another HUD staffer claimed people attempted to avoid Cuomo at all costs. They said, "People were terrified of him. You couldn't forget it. Anyone who tells you they don't remember is not telling the truth. Everybody got their turn, including me." Another former Cuomo aide stated, "What this is a systemic, intentional, hostile, toxic workplace environment that perpetuates abusive treatment of people who don't have power or resources." One would assume slashing hospital budgets and Medicaid during a raging pandemic in a state that has the most populous city in America wouldn't be the best move. However, that's what an Andrew Cuomo-led panel decided to do, according to a March 2020 report in the New York Times. Instead of taxing the millionaires and billionaires who live in New York, the panel came up with a plan to address the state's $6.1 billion budget deficit by cutting Medicaid by $2.5 billion and slashing hospital budgets by $400 million. Dr. David Perlstein, the CEO of St. Barnabas Hospital, said in the New York Times, "It's a shot in the gut. During a time I need to commit all the energy I have to really save lives and expand access and not skimp on resources, now I have to worry about how we're going to continue to pay our bills." Cuomo countered that argument by claiming that the proposed federal stimulus package would provide $150 billion to hospitals, and said they were, quote, "doing better than anyone else." Several New York lawmakers wrote an open letter to Cuomo calling the budget cuts cruel, inhumane, and unacceptable, as well as catastrophic during a pandemic. The New York Times noted that when Andrew Cuomo became governor, he renewed the executive order signed by Eliot Spitzer that barred most appointees from donating to or soliciting donations for the governor who made the appointment. However, a 2018 report by the New York Times showed that Cuomo accepted donations anyway. The investigation found that Cuomo received nearly $900,000 from 24 appointees, as well as $1.3 million from the spouses, children, and businesses of appointees. When asked about the donations, the Cuomo administration and his legal counsel told the New York Times that the executive order, quote, "does not apply to every single person who serves in government." However, Spitzer claimed the interpretation was incorrect. He said in the New York Times story, "The executive order was intended, and did, in fact, apply to all gubernatorial appointees, regardless of the need for Senate confirmation or any term applicable to their service." Another report by the New York Times found that Cuomo reinterpreted the executive order on his campaign website and would effectively allow donations from state appointees. The change was blasted by Susan Lerner of the advocacy group Common Cause New York. She said, "Within the context of all the corruption trials, expanding the number of people who can contribute to the governor's campaign funds is not the reform that's needed." In October 2020, Andrew Cuomo decided to take a premature victory lap by releasing the memoir American Crisis: Leadership Lessons from the COVID-19 Pandemic, which aimed to detail how he took charge during the pandemic. However, immediately after the book was published, COVID-19 cases massively spiked in New York, and by January 12, 2021, the state was averaging over 16,000 new cases per day. Cuomo also avoided addressing the rampant nursing home deaths in his book, but New York government officials were quick to point that out. Democratic state legislator Ron Kim said in ProPublica, "The governor has time in the middle of a pandemic to write a book on the COVID-19 crisis, but after months of delay, he has not delivered on his word to provide the legislature with the accurate numbers of nursing home deaths." Also speaking with ProPublica, Bill Hammond of the Empire Center for Public Policy called the book self-justifying spin instead of an honest analysis of what happened. He said, "It's unfortunate that Governor Cuomo continues using skewed facts and disingenuous arguments in a book that purports to draw lessons from the pandemic." During the midst of a raging pandemic, the logical solution would be to provide vaccinations and tell everyone who wants one when and where to get one. However, critics of Andrew Cuomo claim New York's vaccination rollout was bogged down with unnecessary red tape. On January 7, 2021, Bloomberg reported that Cuomo adamantly pushed back on expanding the list of people who were eligible to receive the vaccine and causing less than half of the 900,000 doses being used. Mitchell Katz, chief executive officer of NYC Health and Hospitals, said in a briefing that they had thousands of doses that they were barred from giving out on Cuomo's order. New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio publicly clashed with Cuomo on the topic, saying, "We could be reaching folks this minute who are vulnerable." And that's not all. After imposing these strict and complex rules on who can receive the vaccine, Cuomo threatened healthcare providers with $1 million fines if they didn't follow them. According to a report in the New York Times, public pressure caused Cuomo to expand vaccine eligibility requirements to include people over 75 after stories emerged of doses expiring or being thrown away. The point of democracy is one person, one vote, right? Well, Andrew Cuomo didn't seem to agree with that premise when he canceled the state's 2020 Democratic primary after then-candidate Bernie Sanders ended his campaign for the presidency. According to HuffPost, New York's Board of Elections removed Sanders from the ballot, citing an obscure section of the state's budget law that Cuomo had enacted earlier that month. Retired labor union official George Albro told HuffPost, "We think this is a power play on the part of the governor who wants to control the entire delegation." Sanders senior advisor Jeff Weaver harshly criticized the move, saying, "While we understood that we did not have the votes to win the Democratic nomination, our campaign was suspended, not ended, because people in every state should have the right to express their preference. The primary process not only leads to a nominee, but also the selection of delegates, which helps determine the platform and rules of the Democratic Party." Andrew Cuomo isn't the only person writing books about Andrew Cuomo. According to Jonathan Allen and Amy Parnes' March 2021 book, Lucky, How Joe Biden Barely Won the Presidency, the Biden campaign was reportedly angry about Cuomo's speech during the 2020 Democratic National Convention, which appeared to be more of a tribute to himself than an endorsement of Biden. According to a convention production insider's complaints, Cuomo's administration essentially, quote, "put the speech on our doorstep, lit it on fire, rang the doorbell, and then ran away." Cuomo's 5-minute speech didn't even mention Biden's name until 10 seconds left in the video. Allen and Parnes alleged the convention speechwriting squad watched in disbelief. They asked Cuomo's aides to refilm it. The answer came back: no. If you or anyone you know have been a victim of sexual harassment or sexual assault, help is available. Visit the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network, RAINN, website, or contact RAINN's national helpline at 1-800-656-HOPE. That's 1-800-656-4673.